I'm here at the beautiful Oregon coast today doing some wave watching with my wife Angela.
I imagine since as long as there have been waves and people to watch them, people have stood on the shore of the sea and looked out over the ocean with awe. The destructive power in those waves can destroy cities and shape continents. The relentless tides bring in things from across the ocean and deposit them on beaches thousands of miles away. There's a mysterious world that lies beneath the waves that's beyond our ability to see as we stand on the shore. There's a saying that's well known in Hawaii that you should never turn your back on the ocean. What the Hawaiians know is that although the sea can be warm and welcoming, and it can provide many of life's essentials and hours of entertainment, it can also be deadly if you're not watching. While on the Mount of Olives, just outside of Jerusalem, Jesus' disciples asked him some questions about his second coming and the end of this age. Early on in answering these questions, Jesus warned his followers against looking at things that have always happened in history and will continue to happen as though they are signs of his return. Jesus said things like earthquakes, wars, rumors of wars, civil disturbances, disease, hunger, and death have always happened and are not the things to look to as a sign of his return or the end of this age. As destructive as earthquakes and tsunamis can be, as scary as Ebola and AIDS are, and as threatening and evil as ISIS is, there have always been volcanoes and earthquakes that have leveled cities. There have always been plagues and flu viruses that have wiped out significant percentages of the world's population. And there have been many like Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, Kaiser, Stalin, Hitler, and Al-Qaeda that have marched over the top of and destroyed innocent people. Things like earthquakes, eclipses of the sun and moon, widespread diseases, and wars are kind of like the big waves that come crashing up on the beach. They can be very destructive, and you sure don't want to turn your back on them, but they've always been there crashing upon the world's shore. And according to Jesus, those kind of things are not signs of anything other than it's another day in a fallen, sinful world that's groaning and travailing. Tragically, for a variety of reasons, many Christians are almost apathetic in regards to knowing anything about the return of Jesus to this earth. Others, as they do look for signs, seem to ignore Jesus' warnings as they focus on the waves in life. This happens as they see things as signs that Jesus said are not signs, or as they attempt to superimpose today's headlines over the top of biblical prophecy. People write books and there are cable television shows declaring how the end of the world may be near based on, metaphorically speaking, the latest things to wash up on the beach. As people try and cram round headlines into square holes of prophecy, they fill in details that just aren't given in the Bible and then see things like the Antichrist and his kingdom hiding behind every rock. Is the Antichrist Prince Charles this week, or is ISIS the beginning of the Antichrist kingdom? Have the people in the 1980s who thought the Antichrist was Ronald Reagan or the leader of the USSR, Mikhail Gorbachev, given up on those ideas yet? Stalin and Yasser Arafat are both dead, as is Ronald Reagan, so it's probably none of them anymore. You get the point. People have been playing pin the tail on the Antichrist for a long time.
The followers of Jesus were commanded by him to watch. Watching for the return of Jesus is a good and necessary part of the believer's life. Besides Jesus warning his followers about looking at the wrong things for signs, he also gave his followers some very specific things that would one day indicate that his return is close. Although a lot of people like to guess, no one knows when those events are going to be set into motion.
Being biblically watchful is first to be knowledgeable about what is contained in the Bible. We have to know the information Jesus and his apostles and prophets gave us in order to know what to watch for. And we need to know not only about the prophecies concerning the second coming, but all the teachings of Jesus and his apostles in order to avoid the widespread deception that Jesus said will indeed play a part of the end. Secondly, being watchful is to properly understand what we've learned in the Bible and apply that knowledge to the world around us in God-given wisdom. You know, most of being watchful is not trying to figure out where the Antichrist will come from, or if the supercomputer in Belgium is the beast of Revelation, or if the CERN particle smasher will play an evil part of the end of the age. Much of applying what we know the Bible says as we apply it to the world around us in wisdom is actually striking down the latest conspiracy theory that someone has came up with. Those theories can distract Christians from what they are actually supposed to be watching for, and from what they're supposed to be spending their time doing, which is the third part of biblical watchfulness, being about the Master's business and living in a way that we're expecting His return. For the good and faithful servant of Jesus, there is no hedging bets. If I know with certainty that my Master Jesus is returning one day soon, as His servant, I'm not only to double down, as is such a popular gambling term for the media to use these days, but I'm to go all in on Jesus. As I wait for Him in faith, I am to wisely and lovingly use the resources, talents, and abilities that He has entrusted to me.
One day, some specific things will indeed, figuratively speaking, wash up on the shore in a specific order. Those things will signal that the return of Jesus and the end of the age are upon us. For the follower of Jesus who's biblically knowledgeable and applying that knowledge in wisdom and living with the expectancy of Jesus' return, those signs will be unmistakable.
Jesus talked about those specific signs on the Mount of Olives. That talk is documented in the books of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Jesus provided additional signs to watch for and details that are found in the book of Revelation. The apostles Paul and Peter provide further information regarding the end of the age in their writings, and the prophetic books of the Old Testament contain a great deal of essential information. In my book Watch, I closely examine the signs Jesus spoke of on the Mount of Olives that will signal that it's the end of the age. I also pull in many scriptures found in the rest of the Bible to help complete the picture. There have always been big destructive waves in the ocean, and there always will be. There have always been big destructive events in the world, and there always will be until Jesus returns. To paraphrase Jesus, such things are going to happen, but it doesn't mean it's the end of the world.
We don't know how far out to sea those signs are. From our human perspective, we can't see past the first few waves. They might wash up on the shore of world events tomorrow, or could be decades or even centuries from now. But what we do know is that Jesus commanded us to keep watch.